Roll call.
Successor.
Board members: Friedman.
Here.
Manukian.
Here.
Najarian.
Here.
Weaver.
Here.
Chair Quintero.
Here.
The agenda for the December 11, 2012 special meeting of the Successor Agency was posted on Monday, December 6, 2012 on the bulletin board outside City Hall. Minutes of the special Successor Agency meeting of Tuesday, October 20. We're recessing for the special meeting, public meeting, and the only other items we have are for the closed session of the Glendale City Council.
No,
So
we have another meeting.
joint meeting.
Yeah. Central Avenue. You see it.
I'm sorry. Yes, we do. I'm ready whenever you are, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, go ahead, please.
Council members: Friedman.
Here.
Manukian.
Here.
Najarian.
Here.
Weaver.
Here.
Mayor Quintero.
Here. Have your report.
We have a roll call also for the board. Board members: Friedman.
Here.
Manukian.
Here.
Najarian.
Here.
Weaver.
Here.
Chair Quintero.
Here.
The agenda for the December 11, 2012 joint public meeting for the Glendale City Council and Successor Agency was reposted on Monday, December 6, 2012 on the bulletin board outside City Hall, 1:25 p.m. At 1 is Director of Public Works regarding Central Avenue and adjacent street improvement project in connection with spec number 3417. 1A is council motion awarding a construction contract to Pulp Inc., DBA, Excel Paving Company in the amount of $7,563,759.81. Authorizing contingency of $750,000 and rejecting all other bids. At 1B is a council motion authorizing increase for the contract with West Coast Arborists in the amount of $35,685 to plant 183 new parkway trees as part of the improvement project. 1C is council resolution appropriating $3,250,000 to fund the project. And there's a second item once we are done with that.
Mr. Ochoa.
Yes, sir. We ran out of dividers in the folder. Pleased to present you the much anticipated Central Avenue rehabilitation project, wherein we are using transit funds as well as bond funds from the Successor Agency. And Mr. Zern will give you the staff report.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, this afternoon, we are here to request your approval to award the contract to XL Paving for Central Avenue. This is a comprehensive street rehabilitation project. It includes Central Avenue from Colorado to just south of Glen Oaks. We are also including several what I'll call side streets that are adjacent to Central, either going east or west, that are in poor condition, and this gives us an opportunity to do the work needed on those as well. This project, as I said, is comprehensive, includes full pavement, rehabilitation, curbs, gutters, sidewalks. We'll be replacing and adding to the street lighting. We'll be replacing and adding to the street tree inventory. We'll be installing a decorative landscape median from Colorado to Americana Way that sits between the Americana and the Galleria. We'll be widening the street approximately 8 to 9 feet between Wilson and Pioneer for the express purpose of putting in a bike lane. And this is consistent with our bike master plan, so this will be a dedicated bike lane that was on the original list that we had shown you before. There's a number of issues here that are somewhat unique. We are using a relative...
Let me interrupt, Mr.
Yes,
Zern.
sir.
In the interests of caution, I'm going to recuse myself from this discussion and presentation and vote because I have a law office on Central Avenue. So even though it's a rental and blah, 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 I'm just going to... Although I would love to hear your report. I'll listen to it inside.
I think it's a good idea because it would contribute to his psychic well-being to walk out of that office and see this beautiful Central redone. So that's right.
As I was mentioning, there's a couple of features to this project that are relatively new to the way we do business, and the main one of that is what we call cold central plant recycling. And this will be where we remove the pavement, the damaged pavement, we estimate between 2 and 5 inches, That is then trucked off-site to a plant where it's crushed, mixed with an emulsion, brought back to the city and laid down as the base course for the street. So not only is this significantly less cost, but we're also eliminating waste and getting a credit for it under AB 939 as well. One of the things we did here, as several of you were on the council when I first became the director, and we did a similar project on Brand, quite an undertaking, no question about it. I wish I could tell you it won't inconvenience or bother one person, it won't be disruptive, noisy, or dusty.
Wasn't that the first time we started using the rubberized?
That was one of the first large projects.
Worked that well?
Actually, it worked. The material works very well, and we've used it in almost exclusively. It was the firm putting the material down that didn't work so well. And in that regard, we learned a lot from that project. And so one of the things we did here is we pre-qualified the firms for this job. So we took firms that were experienced in this type of a job, experienced in the traffic control and the customer service, and firms that have all, quite frankly, worked in Glendale and done an excellent job. We're very happy that it was Excel. Not that I have any favorites, but Excel's a firm that has been working here as long as I've been here. They are very easy to work with and do very quality work. But even with that, we will have a full dedicated project management team to this particular endeavor. So we will have people out there at all times. In addition, I'll be assigning, for lack of a better term, what I'll call a construction liaison, somebody from my office who will be interacting with the businesses. At all times, we'll have their card issued out and be available to discuss with them any issues they may have in the course of the construction project. That way, they don't have to go out and try to talk to a construction worker or find the foreman or look for one of the engineers. We'll have somebody that they can go to who will act as a liaison, and hopefully we can mitigate as much of the inconvenience as possible.
What is the total funding for the project, and where is the funding coming from?
The monies are coming, Mr. Manukian, we have it coming from the Measure R regional funds, the measure passed by the voters of Los Angeles County. We have some of it coming from our gas tax funding for street resurfacing. And we're also using, well, actually, we have it from a reconstruction account and a resurfacing account. There's also the potential for us to use some of the Successor agency bond funds. That is something that won't take place until we're well into the project, but we've come before you to put the proper resolutions in place so that at the time that is decided, if in fact it's decided favorably, we can offset some of the costs with those funds as well. And we'll probably offset the gas tax monies that we used and put that back into our street funds.
What is the total budget for this?
We have it at 7 point, I want to make sure I get the right number. 7.5 is the bid amount, and then we'll have another contingency on top of that.
But it's worth reemphasizing that presuming we do get to use the bond monies from the Successor agency for the tax-exempt projects, that would bring back $3.2 million into our transit accounts or road accounts.
The state approval?
Right now, we have gotten all of our different efforts through the ROPS. We need to get a finding of completion, I think, is the terminology that they're using on all of our other items. And once that happens, they would give us presumably give us the go-ahead to tap into those other funds. So that's why it's on your Successor agency agenda, because such a large chunk would be coming from there. It's also worth noting that the street, if you've driven up and down Central, it has had quite a bit of construction from GWP and from other utilities, and so we expect the street to be nice and clean for a long time.
I just had, Mr. Manukian, we did add that to our last recognized obligation payment schedule. The Department of Finance looked at it. They didn't say no. They said put it off till the spring when the finding of completion is done. So we think that it's favorable that we'll be able to use it.
How much of it is coming from the Successor agency?
3.2.
Almost half of it. And if it doesn't, do we have a backup plan?
Be the fund.
It'll be our road.
It will be the funds that we have approved here. So, and just to finish, the contingency is 10%, so another $750,000 on top of that.
825, the total, approximately.
Approximately. And just to reiterate what what Mr. Ochoa said. We did all of the substructure work. So not only GWP, we put a sewer in, the gas company and the telephone company all did work out on Central, which is why you've probably seen it under construction for quite some time. But this is the final phase of what we need to do and get that street back in order.
Well, that'll be a little different than the other projects where you've been doing everything concurrent, undergrounding, then doing the curbs and gutters, and then the street.
Correct.
Half of it's already done.
Right.
Big
right.
part.
And this is really the way that we should be doing them. It hasn't always worked out that way. As things have occurred the last few months, it's now much easier for me to get them to work that way, and I imagine that we'll be doing that from this point forward.
Right way.
So if anyone comes and cuts the street, they'll be buried in it.
So this sounds like a very interesting project. So they'll actually recycle some of the existing asphalt.
Correct.
Will Excel do that?
Actually, Excel will take it off. They'll bring it to a plant, and then it's mixed. And this is a process that doesn't require heat. It's cold. It's mixed with this emulsion, so you don't have that issue of having to get it to the site in a certain amount of time. Bring it back, and that then is laid down as the base course. It hardens, and we'll come back with regular rubberized asphalt for the surface
For the
course.
final, and Excel will also do that.
But Excel will put that in, and they really. They excel at that. They really do. Their ability to lay down asphalt.
You've heard me complain about Brand. I wasn't satisfied in terms of it just didn't turn out. I think Central's going to turn out a lot better.
I believe.
I don't mean that it's going to deteriorate or anything, but it's just not as smooth as it should have been.
The workmanship left something to do.
The workmanship.
Who did East Glen Oaks?
Shawnan. I'm sorry, you said Brand?
East Glen Oaks.
Oh, East Glen Oaks. Hardy and Harper, who was a firm, that was the first job they did for us, and I really hope they come back and work here. They were outstanding. They were outstanding.
Okay, well, thank you very much. It's exciting. When will you start after the holidays? But
We're hoping to start the day after the New Year because this is a long project. Depending on what kind of weather we get, we want to be done before Thanksgiving so that the shopping season is free and clear.
And it's basically, call it Broadway to...
Colorado to just south of Glen Oaks. You call it Glen Oaks. Yeah. So it's a pretty long stretch.
Very good. Oh, it's going to make a big difference. I think it's going to move traffic a lot smoother. And you also mentioned trees, so there'll be some new...
There'll be trees. There's approximately 102 trees right now that are either in poor condition or will be impacted by the construction. We're going to put 183 back. So we're getting a net increase of 81 trees in the area. That includes the side streets.
By the way, I was marveling at what horrible choices landscape architects just sometimes make. No, because your landscape architect doesn't make those choices. But I was at in a hotel parking lot, and I mean a row of the dirtiest trees. There were just litters, leaves. It was just horrible. And I'm thinking to myself, they paid this firm or paid this person to put those trees in. What a bad choice,
Yeah.
you know. It's just so important for streetscapes that you pick the right ones. So.
And I have to tell you, Mr. Mayor, that in retrospect, that's something I wish we would have done on Brand. The carrotwood trees, which had been there a long time, it probably would have been a good idea to change that species, considering what we had done to them to try to keep them trimmed right. But they are so messy, it just contributes to the dirty sidewalks and the mess down there.
Thank you very much, Mr. Zern. I'm looking forward to it. I know the city engineer will be at the top of his game. So. Mr. Weaver.
A couple comments. It'll be good for Salem, where we have the project going in there, where there'll be more parking available on the street. There's only one side now, which the community there will love. Then having Central with the new hotel coming in, and the what's the project north of the units? Lex, coming in. That'll really help both of those. And as
We're looking forward to it.
I've already wished Mr. Zern and Rubik good luck on Good and Sanchez, because cars come off that freeway and they're going through, and I know they're going to work nights and weekends, but the less they disturb those roads, but it's going to be a nightmare.
I think everybody's looking forward to this project, Mr. Weaver, except maybe the traffic engineers and how they
Yeah.
have to manage the traffic during the
That
construction.
poor guy,
We got a good crew, so I'm confident that'll be taken care of as well.
I have every confidence.
Ms. Friedman?
This is a little off topic, but while we're talking about Central, and we have all of these great improvements coming to Central, besides the repaving, we've got some beautiful new projects coming in, and it's, seeing a renaissance. Can we do anything, and this is not a question for you, this is a question for Mr. Ochoa, can we do anything about Sears, about the front of Sears that faces Central? Because that should be a code enforcement issue. I mean, how that got through design review ever. And the shame is that if you look at old pictures of that building, it was once a really beautiful facade. And it just it looks closed, it looks dangerous, and I'm sick of it. I mean, we've trying to do all these improvements on that road, and we've got a company that clearly doesn't care about our city. I would like council or this agency to do a letter, a joint letter from all the council members to Sears asking them to deal with their facade or do something about it.
That's practically,
You can go ahead and send a letter, leave my name off. It's been that way for decades and decades.
Of course it's been that way, but it's still an
Well, Sears
embarrassment.
is not going to change it for us.
Well, I would like them to know that their building, to me as a council member, is an embarrassment.
Okay, you put your name on it.
Mr. Menuchyan?
I was going to vote against this property, this project, but because you're putting in dedicated bike lanes, I will support it. So, there you go.
Yeah, well, one thing about Sears, I go there quite often to buy Craftsman tools, and they're doing quite well. It's not like it's a store that's not making any money for them. They're doing quite well. And yeah, I think if they did something to address that corner, I think they would be better off, because there may be traffic that drives by and isn't quite sure if they're open or not. So.
we can reach out to them again. They've been, as you know, they've been hesitant to do anything with that site. I think they're still trying to figure out their long-term viability overall as a chain, but we will reach out again.
I'm happy to put my name on a letter.
All right.
A nice letter to them, but just asking them to do something to make it look like actually not a vacant space.
I'll also sign it as a Craftsman tool.
They can model it after the Alex.
All right.
Nice segue.
Do I need a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call?
Council members: Friedman,
Yes.
Menuchyan,
Yes.
Jarian, Weaver,
Aye.
Mayor Quintero.
Yes. Next.
Item 2 on this agenda is Director of Community Development regarding Alex Theater first quarter report from Glendale Arts for fiscal year 2012-13, updated capital project list and change order. At 2A is agency motion to note and file the quarterly report for the period of July 1st to September 30th, 2012. 2B is agency motion accepting a revised maintenance and capital projects list, and 2C is agency motion approving a change order for PM SM Architects in the amount of $184,900.
Mr. Lansfane.
Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, and Successor Agency. Good report today, and it's an exciting time because it's another step forward for the Alex Theater and the expansion project that you have directed us to go forward with, and I've got some good things to report on that. There is 3 elements to our report. The first quarter, you will know or remember just recently we came back with the year end, and why are we back so soon? And that's because it is just the first quarter, and they can get it done a little faster. The capital improvement program, through several different actions of the Successor Agency telling us to move forward with projects and then approving the ROPS, we have set a budget for capital improvements on the Alex Theater. What we're asking you to do in this case is to catch up some of the paperwork. That is the list that's attached to the lease, so that it will reflect those approvals that you've made. And then finally, a change order with the architect that is working on the theater project. The first quarter was a tremendously good quarter, especially compared to first quarter last year. The theater was essentially closed, though, for much of the first, so we thought we'd take a look back during the recession and see, how does this compare to the last 4 years? And what we found was that income was up 8% on average. The total surplus before depreciation was up over 13%, and we've experienced 14 to 19 additional days of activity at the theater over those last 4 years. So really good compared to last quarter, really good standing on its own compared to averages over the last 4 years. The reserve balances for the Alex Theater are healthy. The general reserve at the end of the quarter was $71,978. We have a requirement that be $100,000. The Alex Theater and Glendale Arts has replenished that, and so currently today that balance is at $100,000 at its required amount. The capital and maintenance reserve is up over $87,000. Programming is just under $9,000. Some of that reserve was used for program losses during the last quarter with respect to Glendale Pops. As I said, on the capital improvement side, we have an agreement with Glendale Arts. As part of that agreement, we fund capital improvements. Through different mechanisms, you have directed us to include $5.2 million in the capital improvement program, and that we put on our ROPS. That has been approved by the Department of Finance, that entire amount. When we looked at that, there are several projects on it, and then the big one, the most significant one, is the expansion project. We now have plans completed enough to give to a cost estimator, and we found that the cost for this project, after we've done some value engineering, is $4.6 million. We originally thought it would be $4 million. Staying within that budget of 5.2, we're asking the authority, the agency rather, to shift some of the funding from other projects on that CIP list to this expansion, and then those that we're shifting it from will either be reduced or they'll drop off the list. Glendale Arts would be committed to doing those improvements on their own. So that's kind of this is more of a administrative paperwork thing that we would like to catch up on. And then finally, we're asking for a change order. Again, because of this project has gone in phases and starts and stops, we've had to change the design several times. We originally looked at it, the agency, the Glendale Redevelopment Agency, had authorized a 3-phase project with the agency committing to do the first phase and the design. That got scaled back once redevelopment was in jeopardy to just 1 phase. We wanted to design this in concert with the Lemley Theater project so that they could be built together. Because of some approvals and hang-ups that we're experiencing on the Lemley project and the theater's need to start construction next summer when they have a window of downtime, those 2 projects are going to have to go separately. With those different design changes, we've eaten up some contract and we need to replenish that. The second part of the change order is to do some of the construction administration. That would be assistance with bidding, and as well as as-builts when the project is done. So we are requesting a change order on the architect's contract. Those are the 3 items we're recommending approval on, all of them. I think in your packet we in error had put council motions, and I think you've received revised motions that call for the successor agency. That completes my report. Elisa Glickman, the Executive Director of Alex Theater, is here, as well as Monisha Adnani. I'm going to say it wrong again. Adnani is here, the architect working on the Alex Theater for the successor agency, if you have any questions.
Questions or comment, Mr. Najarian?
What happens if that $184,000 is not approved in the ROPS request?
It either comes out of the project or it would have to come out of the project or another capital improvement if it's not approved on a subsequent ROPS. We have some money left on the existing contract to keep it moving, and we may in fact get to the point where we're submitting our next drops. But in the meantime, if that does get disapproved, we would have to make an adjustment on some of the other, so that our overall budget doesn't change.
But the city wouldn't be on the hook.
City would not be on the hook.
That was the crux of my question.
Other comments? Okay, thank you. Do I have a motion?
I'll move to A, B, and C.
Second?
Roll call?
Council members Friedman, board members Friedman,
Yes.
Menuchyan,
Yes.
Najarian,
Yes.
Weaver,
Aye.
Chair Quintero.
Yes. Next?
There's no other items on this
Move to
agenda.
adjourn for the successor agency.
Second?
We are adjourned.
For the council?
Council, adjourn for the council.
Move to adjourn for council?
Second. And we're
We are adjourned.
recessing.